I don't think people understand carving in Orion Drift, and so I'm going to show you how it actually works. And this should help you with your floor carving, your wall carving, and your ceiling carving. Now, if somebody taught you how to carve, they probably told you to put your hand on the ground and walk around it, or to stand in place and spin in a circle. I recommend standing in place and spinning in a circle. But where you place your hand is important. If your hand is just sliding, it actually doesn't do anything to change your movement. But you'll notice if you are sliding forward with your hand in front of you and you rotate it around in a circle, when you get to that 90-degree point at your side, the carve will initiate and you'll start to turn. I want you to imagine this arrow pointed in the direction that you're moving. When your hand hits the base of that arrow, which is 90 degrees off from the direction of your movement, that is when you will start to turn. Which means that if you're moving sideways, your hand should either be in front of or behind you, and this is what that looks like from above. And this is what enables that really satisfying surf carving, where you're not really turning around, you're just kind of swinging your arms in front of yourself. But before we get into ceiling carving and wall carving, you should know that you can carve on any surface of your hand. It doesn't matter, you just can't carve on the very tips of your fingers. So always make sure you aren't pointing your fingers into the surface you're trying to carve on. But other than that, whatever hand position feels good to you, it totally works. Okay, the system applies exactly the same way to wall carving, except now you have to imagine the arrow on its side because you're going to put your hand on the wall. So if you're running along the wall, your hand is going to need to move past vertical to start the carve. And eventually you'll be able to end the carve early and not push yourself away from the wall so that you can do this. Now, if you're dropping straight down a wall, then your movement is straight down, which means your arm to start the carve needs to be basically right in front of you. Here's some back and forth wall carving with the arrow just to give you an idea of how that works. And remember, the arrow is pointing in the direction of movement, and my hand needs to be 90 degrees off of that movement in order to initiate the carve. All of this applies to ceiling carving in the exact same way. One of the biggest mistakes I made with ceiling carving is I would put my hand in front of me while also running forward, trying to reach the ceiling, and that meant that I couldn't initiate the carve because I wouldn't get to that point before I fell off the ceiling. You also need to start turning for your carve before you hit the ceiling, and raise your hand slowly throughout your carve so that gravity doesn't pull you off of the ceiling before you're done carving. Now, hopefully this is enough to get you carving, but if you want in-depth tutorials on wall carving and ceiling carving, check out Mr. Stick TV on YouTube. Without his tips, I would not be doing this.